Happy Rotary Thursday. It's great to see everyone again. Welcome. Good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot of little things to touch on before Stephen's presentation. Thank you, Stephen, for being here today. And I want to make sure we give Stephen enough time. So we're going to start with the invocation. Gail, if you don't mind coming up to the microphone and leading us in invocation, please. You don't have to use my short box if you want.
Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for all our many blessings. Thank you for being here with us today. And in a world that seems crazy, please help us to remember that you have this. You're in control, and help us to know that normal will return again. Please be with our first responders, our policemen, our firefighters, our medical personnel, our children, our grandchildren, and be with us as we go forward. Thank you for the food we had today. Thank you for this club, and thank you most of all for your son. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Gail. On the Zoom side, just a little housekeeping note. Just remember to mute your microphone if you're not already muted. If you want to speak, go ahead and speak. Unmute yourself and speak. Let's go ahead and start with guests and visiting Rotarians. So I know we have a couple of guests. Of course, Stephen Bridgers is here from Scholarship for Kids, and he's going to be our speaker today. And we'll introduce him in just a second. I think we also have Dustin Haraway. Dustin, if you don't mind, this is our first meeting joining us. I think he knows a couple of Rotarians here. Dustin, if you don't mind coming up to the microphone. I wouldn't call you up here except for the Zoom side. They won't be able to hear you. So just say a couple words about yourself, where, you know, if you're from this area and what you do. Just a kind of an introduction. Not to put you on the spot.
No, it's all right. Hey, I'm used to speaking, so. Do I stand on this thing? Okay. So yeah, I'm Dustin Haraway. I'm an investment advisor here in town. I grew up in Madison. I'm a lifelong resident. My dad, Steve Haraway, he's actually on the county commission. Let's see. You didn't give me a framework for what. Yeah, how'd I hear about Rotary? So a mutual friend of mine, Mark Jacobson's Taylor Edge, told me a little bit about it. I wanted to get more into some community involvement. So I started, Taylor's a good friend. I talked to him and he kind of gave me the idea. So I just started exploring it and come to find out there's a couple of people in Rotary that I already kind of knew. I know Taryn Thorpe. He's a friend of my family's. I know John Allen as well. So I just wanted to come and visit and kind of see what it was about, get to know you guys. And so I'm very happy to be here. I did. I went to Bob Jones High School. Yeah. 13. Yep. And I went to college at Georgetown College in Kentucky, played football there for 5 years, and then moved to Louisville for my first job. Then I found my way back home. So yeah, so I'm glad to be back here. So yeah, thank you.
All right, great to have you, Dustin. We're gonna, any other visitors? Manuel is here, of course. We're not gonna ask Manuel to come up and introduce himself again. He's done it twice. This is his third meeting? Third meeting, and he has some paperwork officially in the hopper for Rotary. So we're looking forward to continue seeing Manuel. Any visitors on the Zoom side that I haven't seen or I'm not seeing? Okay, visiting Rotarians. I got in trouble for calling Roger a visiting Rotarian last week, so I'm not going to do that again. So Roger's just part of the club. He just happens to be with us this morning. Any visitors? Not any other, but any visitors? Any visiting Rotarians? Okay.
Janice,
go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Janice is here.
Hey, Janice. It's nice to see you from our Sundown Club.
Hi, Peter.
Okay. I don't quite see you, but I see your name there. Okay. We're going to start with our announcements. Done a lot of big things over the last week. One of them was the Purple Pinky Donuts, and Mark is going to speak to that in a little bit. But any other announcements, any good things happening in the community or with us? I have one if nobody's going to start, just to start it out. If you don't mind pulling up a slide, I'll go ahead and start. One brag or announcement that I just wanted to make. If you pull up the BBRLI. So Bob, our very own Bob Barnes, has graduated RLI. So he's gone through all three, and I'm going to put you on the spot in a second, Bob. He's gone through all three of the training sessions. If you go to the next slide, Fred, there, he's got his official certificate there. Bob, I've never gone through RLI. I know a couple of people here have gone through RLI. Would you mind sharing just a second of what that's like?
For me, it was an eye-opener. Spending the first couple of years in Rotary, even though I attended a lot of clubs, I was trying to learn everything, and attending the first two sessions was just like the light bulb came on. It's a fantastic, it really brings home what Rotary's all about and the mechanisms that make it work. And that just clears up everything. And so there was no mystery anymore. And then it couldn't have been any better that our club contributed a strategic plan, because part 3 was all about strategic planning. And so it was perfect. It just, with the timing, couldn't have been any better. But I'd highly recommend it for any new member, and especially now since they're doing the Zoom classes. There are 2 4-hour sessions was part 3, but it went very fast because they keep you well involved, and they are very experienced and very entertaining. So it was great. I can't recommend it enough.
Thank you, Bob. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know we've gotten some feedback from our newer members that it takes them a little while longer to learn about what is Rotary and what we do. So maybe RLI is the perfect avenue to kind of indoctrinate them into everything that Rotary has to offer and what we do as Rotarians. Okay, any other announcements before we move on to club business?
Hey, Peter,
Yes, ma'am.
it's Sarah on Zoom. I've got a quick announcement for the club, and opportunities come through to us for community service. It's from the United Way. You received an email on Tuesday with details on it from Cynthia. So I appreciate her sending that out to everyone. They are hosting their Read for the Record again this year, and it is solely a virtual exercise for students and for us as volunteers. I know Cheryl had asked if there was another way she could volunteer in the classroom or more hands-on this year. And with the COVID situation, those opportunities just don't exist. So the way we can all participate is jump on your Facebook on October 29th at 10, noon, 2, or 4 to participate and listen to someone else read the story to you this year. We can also go online and purchase books individually. And I know that Peter and I are looking at finding some club resources towards purchasing books for students and teachers to have for the event. It's a big thing for them. It's a great way for us to show kids how involved we are in their future. So help them and help us help them reach their goal of breaking a record of 5,000 people hearing the same book in the same day.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that announcement, Sarah. We've been involved with Read for the Record for several years now. We typically go and read in classes. Again, that's not available, so we're looking to see what else we can do to support it, including buying a lot of books for them to be able to read to try to hit that 5,000 mark. So more to come on that. Any other announcements before we move on to club business? Yes. Sure. Yeah, thank you, Gail.
Sorry, I'm back again. So yesterday at Salvation Army board meeting, we talked about whether or not we'd be able to ring the bells this year. And although he doesn't have the contract in hand, the captain thinks it is going to be an opportunity to do that. And so I was looking at dates, and I think I was leaning towards December the 12th because there's only 2 football games that day. And it's only makeup games for the hurricane games that got postponed. And so I'm thinking December the 12th. Does that sound like the best? Is that good for everybody? And I guess we'll have to be masked. I don't know. And there's also an opportunity to sponsor the kettle if we want to do that, but we can think about that down the road. Thanks.
Thank you, Gail. Dustin, you were looking for community service. I think you're hearing a little bit about what we do in the community. Okay. Any other announcements before we move on to some club business? Okay, club business. So I've been holding on to this for just a second. We've been busy the last couple of weeks, but we received a Rotary citation for 2019-2020, which is the highest, most significant award a Rotary Club can achieve for the year. So it's a Rotary citation. Let me just read it before I butcher it. Congratulations, your club has earned the Rotary Citation, the most significant award a Rotary Club can achieve for 2019-2020. Of course, that's Larry's year, so this is under his leadership. During a year that was challenging for many Rotarians around the world, your club demonstrated a commitment to achieve its goals, which ultimately helps strengthen Rotary and the shape of our future. So, Larry, congratulations. To the club, congratulations. So. I don't think that's the first Rotary citation. Hopefully not the last one we received. Okay. Board positions next year. Larry, is there anything you want to say about that? You want me to kind of touch on what that might look like over the next month or so? Okay. So if you're interested in any, it's time to start nominating our board for next year. If you're interested in any leadership positions, secretary, president, so on and so forth, just look at the different positions are on our newsletter that Cynthia sends out. If you have any interest in any of those leadership positions, just send Larry or Chris an email. The past president's council is going to get together soon and start making those nominations for next year's board. And of course, the president position also, we have a 2-year backfill on that. So if you're interested in leadership in Rotary, just let Larry or Chris know, and we'll kind of work you into that conversation. Anything else?
Or if you're interested in setting one of your friends up.
Or if you want to nominate somebody, then feel free to anonymously send that to Larry and Chris, and they'll end up on a list somewhere. Okay. Any other club business before we move on to the slides? All right, we'll go ahead and get started so we don't take up too much of Steven's time. The next one, you can close that one out. There you go. Okay. We're going to start with Mark, who's going to share a little bit about how it went for this very fast-paced Purple Pinky Donut drive that happened over a 2-week period. I think you'll be happy to hear some of our results. So if you go to the next slide. Mark, please.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, step aerobics. I get it in early. First of all, I wanted to say it was an utmost pleasure to be able to perform with the club. I kind of stepped in and we started running, and we ran very fast, but I couldn't have ran without the club. So what I did was I tried to quickly put together a couple just key points to kind of give you an overview of what some of the goals were and what we were trying to do. So I came up with these goals that wanted to get to about 10,000 children vaccinated, which was somewhere around $3,300, trying to sell at least 167 boxes of donuts. We're trying to get 100% of the club participation in this event. If you go next slide, I will tell you that again, we did this in about 2 weeks, and one of those weeks was fall break. So with that, we really got, in my opinion, we really got a lot done very quickly. So with the amount of money we raised, we're going to vaccinate about 6,646 children. With that, we raised over $2,000 by the club with the matching, and we know it's a 9-to-1 match for the donut drive. So we're looking at about $19,000 that we raised as a club. We did secure 83 boxes of donuts. It was a very interesting and sticky time. I spent some time cleaning glaze and frosting out of the back of my car. And I will tell you, in 2 weeks, again, 2 weeks and 1 week on fall break, we had the second highest in the district of donuts that we actually ordered. And I will tell you what, I think we would have won, but somebody in Jasper spent $1,000, ordered 500 boxes of donuts. So that's really probably the only reason that we lost or didn't become, we weren't number one, which is always what everyone wants to be. We did in the future, and it was probably a short window. We only probably had about 30, almost 40% of the club be able to participate. But in the future, as we, if we choose to do it again, and I think it's a great thing, there's some things I think we can do to make it better, and I'll give those remarks as well. I think we can do better. I think we can raise even more money, but we did it. We did it with the help of the club. There's just only maybe a couple people that I'm still collecting a few pennies and dollars from. I'll be looking for you. And then I have to get the checks back to Bob. We'll write a check out for the remaining of that so we can send those donations for those who only wanted to donate. So we'll have all that closed out here within the week. And I just appreciate your opportunity. Although as a new guy, it was a great opportunity to meet so many people. It was so funny sitting at Panera Bread and people were like, "Are you Mark?" Yeah, that's me. That's me doing these shady donut drills. But thank you again. It was my pleasure. Peter.
Thank you, Mark. Of course, that's what we like to see, a brand new Rotarian. I think Mark's been in the club less than 2 months or maybe at 2 months now. And he headed this up and he did a great job. So thank you, Mark. Okay, we'll go ahead. And so we have a couple of birthdays really quickly. Karen, I don't know if Eric's on with us, but Eric's better half. She's celebrating her birthday next week. And of course, Chris McBride as well is celebrating a birthday. So happy birthday, Karen, and happy birthday, Chris. Special days there. Some anniversaries. Bill Drake will be celebrating his 16 years with the club next week. So congratulations, Bill. I hope you enjoy a nice cigar with that anniversary. And Tom Florence, time flies when you're having fun. He's been with us 1 year, and he's another one that took the bull by the horn, and he's going to head Parrots next year, whatever that might look like. I know we're talking about that in the strategic plan, so we'll see what that looks like. Over the next couple, did I have it? Yeah, I think I had everything else. Over the next couple of weeks, of course, we have Stephen here for Scholarships for Kids. We're going to wrap up Parrots next week. So John, Postle, and Tom will be here and help us wrap up Parrots. We have a Sunset Group meeting or Sunset Gathering Group. A group is okay. I can't say club. Okay. Sunset Group. Mayor Finley will be here on the 5th to give us a Madison update. And of course, we have a board of directors meeting on November 10th, which if you have something you want to bring up to the board of directors, you're always welcome to join us for the beginning of that meeting. All right. Having said that, we're going to invite Gail up. And Gail is the MVP for today's meeting. And she's going to introduce Stephen. So thank you, Gail.
Thanks. Our speaker today is Stephen Bridgers. He's from Scholarships for Kids, which I think is the oldest scholarship granting organization in the state. What happened with the Alabama Accountability Act a few years back. And he lives in Birmingham, got up very early this morning to be with us. So we appreciate him coming.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Rotarians. I'm I don't know where I am, but I'm a former Rotarian, but then I became a Kiwanian when I moved town. So I don't know where that leaves me in your affections or not. I don't know how that lines up, but anyway, I'm very grateful that y'all have made time for me and allowed me this chance to talk to y'all. So first off, let me say, who here loves to pay taxes? Zoom participants, are any hands raised there? No. So the Alabama Accountability Act is a unique way, and it's the only way that you, as an Alabama resident, get to tell the state of Alabama how to spend your taxes. It's a very unique opportunity that was started 7 years ago, and it leads to a couple of things. It leads to school choice opportunities for kids that otherwise would not have it, which in turn then leads to future members of our economy and the people that can help fill the jobs that places across our state, but especially this part of the state, need filling. So that's kind of what it is. But let me take a step back and kind of describe, kind of my role in it and what this organization is. So first off, let me tell you a little bit of my history. So I grew up in Huntsville. So I was here from age 2 to 2nd grade. I was at Jones Valley Elementary in Huntsville. I was here when the tornado hit and then moved over to Challenger. So unfortunately, most of my memories related to Huntsville are the middle of the night tornado that hit. But I've been blown away every time I've come here to see By the way, well, that's a terrible pun, but to see the growth that's happened here, and a lot of that is down to great leadership, but it's been opportunities and forethought that has laid out plans and how the city can grow and how part of the state can grow. And one of the key drivers in that is having people that can fill these jobs. And so that's why the Accountability Act was created 7 years ago, because school choice is available to a lot of families. School choice is available to those that have the ability to move into a better district, to pay for a private school, to homeschool if they want, if they have the means and the time and the availability to do that. But for many, and the majority of the kids across our state, they are stuck in the schools that they are zoned for. And so we don't believe that a zip code should determine someone's future. And so that's why I have worked with the Accountability Act for a long time. So my background is I'm a reformed lawyer. I turned away from those ways years ago and got into nonprofit work. And I was with a school called Restoration Academy just west of Birmingham for 7 years, where I worked with the Accountability Act. And I did admissions and financial aid for all of our students incoming. And so I really got to see, how does this act affect children's lives? And it's such a unique opportunity. And it marries two things. It marries people who need the opportunity, our kids and our families, and it marries you, taxpayers, who get to allocate your taxes towards these scholarships. And first, let me take a break here and talk about Gail. So Gail, I've met her just once before. We've talked a couple of times, but if you don't know Gail well, I know her because of her legacy and her devotion to this act. And that, as a CPA, she is using her realm of influence and her talent, her God-given talents and abilities, to convince her clients to donate the funds that they already owe to the state of Alabama into scholarships. And so Gail's legacy is really investing millions of dollars and helping her clients invest millions of dollars into kids across this part of the state, into giving them the educational opportunities they otherwise wouldn't have. So if you don't get anything from me today, and you don't sign up for this act, and you don't participate, please recognize what Gail has done, because it is a tremendous legacy, and I am grateful for what she's done for these kids across the state. So I want to lead with that. Again, I've only met Gail, but I've told Gail and I've told other people, if every city in Alabama had a Gail, this money would fly out the window, and so many more kids would be able to be on scholarship. So I wanted to say that off the top. But so a little bit more about scholarships for kids, what we do. So we work with partner schools, and we have a little over 40 schools that we work with across the state. And we work with them to make sure that they can have the children that can use these scholarships. There's certain applications that they go through, and really this is meant for kids. A lot of them are zoned for low performing schools. You hear sometimes the talk about failing schools, but the failing schools is really a misnomer, because the state legislature, when they decided what a failing school is, that failing school list is only the bottom 6% of schools in the state. So if you go to a school that's in the bottom 8%, that school isn't really what you would want your children to go to, but our state doesn't consider that a failing school. So if you think about Alabama, for all of the great things about Alabama, education is not one of the things, unfortunately, we do well as a state. So if we're ranked 50th, or in one metric, when you include DC and Puerto Rico, we rank 51st in some of our math work. If you're in the bottom 6%, that's really some of the worst schools in our country. And even if you're not at some of those low ranking schools, you're still at low performance schools. So this is geared towards families that qualify based on low household income. And we want to give them the opportunities to have the same school choice that most of other people would have. And so we work with schools across the state, like I said, and a lot of schools up here. In fact, the rest of the day, I'll be visiting a lot of our partner schools. So the schools that we work with up here, John Paul II, Madison Academy, St. John the Baptist, Lincoln Academy. There's another school I'm forgetting, and then Huntsville Achievement. So I'm getting to see those schools. And again, those are opportunities for parents that otherwise wouldn't have them. So we want to be able to link those parents and those students that want to apply for those schools. And then my job, and our schools do this as well, is we go out and fundraise. And this funding, again, is different from the normal fundraising, because most everyone in here, again, you're Rotarians, so you care about your community. So there's usually multiple things you're associated with. Gail mentioned the Salvation Army, and it's a wonderful organization. And so we don't want to pull funding from the other organizations that need your time, talent, and resources there. But what we want is for you to allocate your tax dollars that, again, you've got to send to Montgomery anyway. So we're a unique way to give, and we're a way to give that is a dollar for dollar tax credit. So the way it works is you sign up online, you allocate your tax dollars through the My Alabama Taxes website, and then you cut a check to us, and then we tell the state, yes, we received it, and you get a dollar for dollar tax credit. And so if you write us the check next week, then when you file your taxes in March or whenever you file your taxes, you get it, all those dollars back as a dollar for dollar tax credit. So again, this is a unique way to give, and it really doesn't cost you anything. What is unique is we have recently had some tax law changes that make it a little more advantageous for a business owner. And so for a business owner, the IRS came out with new regulations that were finalized in August, which state essentially, if you give as your corporate entity, whether it's an LLC, an LLP, a partnership, whatever formation it's in, you can, if you contribute through that pass-through entity, the tax credits still flow to you as the owner, but you can also deduct that contribution as a business expense. So you essentially get to double dip. And so now we're looking at opportunities for making money for our small businesses here who can contribute, and it's still benefiting our kids across the state. So that's really how it works. That is, it's a unique way to give. Most people, when they see this, they think there's no way this can be real. There's no way that I can tell Montgomery how I can allocate my taxes. And it is. This has been around for 7 years. Our organization, there's a couple of organizations like us, but our organization personally has raised and distributed over $80 million in scholarships to kids across the state, K through 12. And this year, last year we had a fundraising year that was not where it needed to be. And unfortunately, some scholarships were lost and some scholarships were cut. And so we are working, and that's one of the reasons I came on board, is working as hard as we can to raise those funds so that kids across North Alabama and across our state can have the educational opportunities that our children would have. Because again, whether you choose to go to a Christian school, a Catholic school, some unique opportunities that are out there, we want you to have, we want these families to have the financial means to be able to go to those schools. And one of the things a lot of people think is that we are not opposing public schools at all. I'm a product of public schools. My children attend public schools. And there are very unique public and charter schools out there. I mean, in Cummins Research Park, you're going to have one of the most unique schools in the state. Well, obviously in the state, but across the country, with the new kind of STEM focus and engineering and cyber defense school, which I think is such an incredible opportunity. And obviously it fits in Huntsville because Huntsville's always been really at the forefront of technologies across our state. And so we're not opposed to public schools. We want to work in concert with them. And actually funding from us can also be used at some of those schools like Alabama School of Fine Arts for any funds that they need outside of the public, what the public covers. Funds from Scholarships for Kids can be used to help support kids that are going to the cyber defense school or the School of Fine Arts. So we are not opposed to public schools at all. We want to work in concert with them. We just want to make sure we have opportunities for our kids across the state so that they are able to get the high quality education that they need, and so they can fill the thousands of jobs that places across Huntsville need filling over the next few years. And so really, I don't want to talk a long time. Again, I was an econ major. I like to be efficient with my time and y'all's time, but I would love to answer any questions that y'all have about the act. Yes, sir.
It counts as like a state income tax, so if you're over the $10,000 limit, you don't get it on the federal return. It's a tax on the federal return, it's a contribution. It doesn't count as a contribution, it's a credit on your state tax, and then it counts as a state income tax on your federal tax. So if you're above
We can't hear anything.
Do you want to give the explanation, Gail?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the question was, does the contribution, essentially, how does it affect state and federal taxes? And so from a state, I don't know why I'm looking up there since y'all are there, but so it operates as a state credit. So it doesn't cost you anything from a state perspective. So you're at net neutral on a state perspective. And from a federal perspective, I guess maybe the best way to say is practically it's not really affecting your federal return based on kind of SALT limitations and things like that. Gail can give a more technical explanation.
If you're above the 10,000.
Yeah, if you're above the 10,000, SALT limit, so you don't get a federal benefit. So it's always a net neutral thing from a state perspective, but now these new regulations for a business owner, it can be more advantageous. Yes, ma'am.
So how does it
Sure. So the question was essentially, how does it work on the state side? I'm sorry, on the student side. So students apply to our partner schools. And so, if you're in Huntsville, you could say, I'm interested in Lincoln Academy. I'm interested in Madison Academy. And so you go through that school's regular application process. And then the school then kind of works that student to do a separate application to our organization. And so really, once that student is accepted by a school, we work to fund as much as possible as we can. But again, that we're limited only by the funding we bring in. And so one of the other things, the way we operate is we want funds that are raised in this part of the state to stay in this part of the state. So the state does not allow us to earmark funds. And so we do not earmark funds. But what we do is we take note of the motivation of you as a donor. So some people are motivated by a particular school. That school is what kind of brought them. It's what interested them in school choice and opportunities. So they'll say, I was motivated by this school. And literally, you write it on a sticky note and you drop it in the check when you mail it to us. And so our accountants make note of that. And some people say, I live in Huntsville. I want my money to stay in Huntsville. I want it to stay in Madison. And so we do our best. Again, we legally cannot say that money is earmarked, but we want to make sure that the dollars raised by you stay in your community. Because again, your motivation is you want to see a better Madison. You want to see a better Huntsville. And one of the best ways to do that is make sure our children are best prepared for the educational challenges ahead of them, and the challenges that our schools are going through, and that they're able to attain a high quality education so they can go on to college or a career path, and that they have all the opportunities afforded that our children would otherwise have.
Stephen, I have a question. If I was interested in a school in, let's say, Pickens County, how would that?
So I heard Pickens County. So Pickens County in particular. So Pickens does not have any private schools that participate in this program. And so I would love it if they did, but the schools, the private schools, or some of our public schools that are unique, like the Cyber Defense School and the School of Fine Arts, they choose to participate in this school. Not all schools choose to participate. I would love it if we could get some of our more private schools again to just offer more opportunities. So we're limited really by who we work with. Is the school has to come to the state and say, yes, this is a program we want to participate. And so for some schools, it has really changed who they serve. It's been really unique to see some schools that traditionally have just worked with a really affluent student body and have really taken this opportunity to bring in a diverse, racial diversity, socioeconomic diversity. And it's really encouraging to talk to those principals and those administrators and say, we're grateful for this because it's really showing us how we can reach different people than we have in the past.
Is scholarship for kids one of those things that you can choose on your tax return and to donate? Is that, I'm not remembering, or is it just you write a check to scholarship for kids?
Yeah, so the website's a little clunky unless you have a great CPA like Gail. It takes a little bit of time, but excuse me. So you go to My Alabama Taxes, which is the State Department of Revenue website, and it's kind of counterintuitive and kind of following all the instructions. Montgomery and State of Alabama is not known for its efficiency, but you go on there, you reserve your donation. There's a $30 million cap that's available every year, and then it just counts down as more and more people give. And so you go there, you make your reservation, and then you write a check to us. And again, if you're motivated by a particular school or region, you would put a sticky note on the check that says, I was motivated to give by whomever. And then we receive that check, and then we send you notification that we have received it. We notify the state. And then when you turn around and file your taxes next year, there's a line on the form, or if you file online, that you just say, I made a contribution to the Alabama Accountability Act, and it's a $1 for $1 credit against your state income tax.
You can do like 50% of your tax.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Up to 50%. So if you owe $10,000 to the state, you can do $5,000 donation.
Have you reached the cap in years past?
We have. So the question was, have we reached the cap in years past? And we have. So we reached it in 2016, and then we were very, very close in 2017, and then 2018 was kind of a blessing and a curse as far as with the tax law changes that made it really advantageous for everyone to get it. Briefly, if you were subject to alternative minimum tax, you made money, and so CPAs across the state just had all their clients do it, whether or not they cared about the schools. So that money, instead of normally running out in December, which had in the past, ran out in March. And so it was great to get all this funding in, but the problem was most donors are giving now, are giving in the fourth quarter, because again, it's a time value money. You want to give in November and get it back in March. Well, so our normal donors that would give regularly and had a note on their calendar, they pull up the website in November and they see there's no money available. So they think, I guess they don't need me anymore. So then when 2019 rolls around again, they kind of have just forgotten about it. And so a lot of those donors that, again, were motivated by particular schools didn't give in 2018 because they didn't have the opportunity, and didn't give in 2019 because they didn't remember to. And so a lot of my time is really re-educating our schools to go out and talk to their donors, and also to just talk to donors on my own who gave in 2018 and say, I know you just gave because your CPA told you to, but here's how it affects us, and here's the lives that it changed. And so there's a lot of re-education that we're doing, but it's something that's worth it, again, to give educational opportunities to all of our kids across Alabama.
I mean, it's really a no-brainer. It doesn't cost you anything. You do something for a kid who wouldn't get a good education. The kids at Lincoln, it's changed their lives.
Yeah. So it's a 1-year scholarship that can be renewed repeatedly. You just kind of do renewal paperwork, and so it's been around 7 years. And so I've got unique stories from being in a school. I can talk about children's lives who really were changed. A student who was bullied at a school outside of Birmingham came to our school as an 8th grader, and now he went on to Sanford University in Birmingham on a full scholarship, and he's coming back and giving to the school. He's a small group Bible study leader with these kids. And so I can talk about Jonathan's story, which is very unique, but what's unique up here is you can hear stories from Lincoln and from other schools up here that can talk about how it's affected their kids. And so that's what's unique, is that we have stories of thousands of kids, because that's how many kids have been on scholarship in the program. And obviously we want to raise funds so we can increase the number of kids that can have these opportunities.
Okay, so the big thing we need to know is that we go to Gail and find out all this stuff.
Yes. So I have a sign-up sheet for those that are here, and I'll make my contact information, or Gail's got my contact information, and so obviously Gail's the best in the state, but and walk people through it. But also Gail is busy, but my email and phone number will be available, and I can walk you through anything as well. I think I don't know why I keep looking at you like this, because now you just see the back of my head, but it's hard to change habits. But anyway. And so if you know CPAs or wealth managers or anybody that has influence with people and can get this in front of them, that's what we need. We need people to be advocates for this program and get in front of other people that have the means to contribute.
Well, I do have one comment, of course. Sorry. But that's all well and good, but some of our poorer states like Greene County and Pickens County and Lamar and those don't seem to have any resources or any schools that participate. And how do we impact that?
So that's a great question. And I have a particular affinity for a lot of our Black Belt counties. In a previous job, I worked in West Alabama. My wife and I would spend time regularly in Perry County. But, to answer that, it's tough. To be very, very frank, a lot of those are low-income counties across the Black Belt are the ones that do not want to view any change in education. They have their public school systems. They don't want to change them, even though they're low performing. They are usually the areas that are most opposed to charter schools coming in, or private schools, or educational alternatives. So my heart is absolutely there. And but I think we can see in kind of Livingston in West Alabama, their charter school is showing some success, but there's just kind of a natural push against it from a lot of people in this community. So it's something that I would love to see change. I think, you're changing kind of generational opposition to change, any type of change, even as those communities have changed significantly over the years, they are still very devoted to the way they've always done education. And I think, unfortunately, we would say education hasn't improved there, and it's just become more and more broken. So I wish we could do that. I know there's organizations that are hoping that this fund could get bigger to where people could intentionally go into those communities and create private schools as educational alternatives. But we're probably a few years away from that.
So Gail, when you say it's a no-brainer, I got no brain. Can you explain that a little bit more? So if I wrote a $50 check to Scholarship for Kids for the state of Alabama, does that become like a wash? Like if I owed that money, it just goes to
Yeah, but
specific?
$50 is not enough. You need to
Yeah.
Okay.
look on your tax return and see what your total tax is and take 50% of that money.
Okay.
It's your state 40, not your 10 for your state. So line 10 on your state 40 on your income tax. And half of that, even if you say, oh, I don't pay taxes, even if you have credits, but it's half of what you owe your state income tax.
It's like half of what your total tax is. So whether you owe it or not, so what you have to do is either not pay your fourth quarter estimate or reduce your Alabama withholding so you're not.
Okay, Gail, you need to get to the microphone.
Gail actually gets paid for this kind of work.
So my first meeting in person, and I'm dominating the meeting. I'm totally dominating. So what you do is like you look on your state income tax return and see what your total tax is for the year, not what you owe, but what your total tax bill is. And then you can contribute up to 50% of that as one of these credits. And what that might do is make you overpaid, but you can get the refund and get your money back. And then you can, like for next year, do your planning and adjust your withholding on your A4 so that you're reducing how much you're having withheld, so you're not way over withheld for next year. Or you can just get the money back, or if you're paying quarterly estimates, you just don't make your fourth quarter estimate. But I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. And they have changed, like those kids at Lincoln, they had never had a kid that go to college from there before. And now they only go through the 8th grade and they go like to Madison Academy or somewhere like that. And then these kids are going to college and most of them hadn't even graduated high school before. So, I mean, it's making a big difference there. So, and I have a real soft spot in my heart for them because they're one of our clients and the executive director is one of my clients. So I know what it's done there, but it doesn't cost anything to do something nice for a kid and give a kid a chance that wouldn't have a chance otherwise. So
Gail, just making sure because I'm like you, Peter, I don't know. So I look at my Alabama tax return, A10 block, and then I can contribute up to 50% of that.
Right.
And then start writing, then I would go online, sign up, and then write checks.
You have to write a check within 30 days after you reserve it. So you make your reservation on My Alabama Taxes, and then you have 30 days to get it paid and confirmed. And then 50%, up to 50% of your tax. And then you take a credit. There's a form you have to fill out, a credit form that goes with your Alabama return where you claim the credit and what organization. You can't write a check directly to the school. You have to do it through My Alabama Taxes. And then they have, if you go there, you can see the list of the organizations, and you go to the list of organizations, see the schools they partner with. So you can, say who you would prefer that it would go to. You can't require that it go there because then it's not a donation. You can't put any strings on donations. But I mean, it's a great way to help kids without really being out of pocket, except for maybe a few months till you get your refund.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it. Again, if we had a Gail at every meeting and across the city, my job becomes way much easier, way easier. So I am very grateful for Gail and what she's done. She's a great example to CPAs and just advocates. Again, everyone has a sphere of influence. Everyone has people who will listen to you because of your role in a community, in your church, and your family. And we just want to create advocates that will advocate for this program, because when you're advocating for this program, you're really advocating for the children of Alabama. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. And I just want to give, and Stephen gave some accolades. I want to give a round to Gail. I didn't know she was doing all this, so I'm very proud. We're glad to have Gail as well. All right. With that, just one more announcement, unless somebody else has another announcement. The President's Council is going to meet via Zoom November 9th. So Larry sent an email to the past presidents yesterday, so check your inbox. I think that is set for November 9th. So if you have any questions, just ask Larry, or if that doesn't work for you, just ask Larry. Any other announcements before we stand for the four-way test? Okay. Of the things we think, say, or do, first.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Okay, thank you all. Have a great Thursday.